Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are making beef and broccoli that is better than anything that you can get from your local Chinese corner store, okay? And because it's the beginning of 2022, we're going to start off the year right by sneaking some extra veggies into this dish. Just stay tuned so you can see what happens. All right, let's get into it. Okay, first we're going to start off with cutting up our broccoli. I'm just cutting them into little florets. I'm using 3 heads or crowns of broccoli, and I'm checking to make sure there's no caterpillars in them. Listen, I get scarred sometimes when I cut through broccoli and see a whole bunch of caterpillars when it's organic, but I still use it though. Also, we're going to use the broccoli stems. They are high in protein and vitamins, very nutritious, and they take on the flavor of whatever you cook them in. So cut up them broccoli stems. Next, I'm going to go in with 1 large onion. I don't know about you, but when it comes to my beef and broccoli or shrimp and broccoli, I like for my onions to kind of be crunchy and in big chunks. So cut your 1 onion up in big chunks. All right, so again, I'm only going in with 1 onion. I'm separating the onions because you know they like to hug up on each other. So we're just gonna separate them a bit. And then also in a baggie, I have about 1.5 cups of diced bell peppers and another onion. So I used in total about 1 bell pepper, 1 red bell pepper, 1 green bell pepper, 1.5 onions, and I'm gonna use about 1 cup or so of shredded carrots. Now I'm going to go in with some fresh ginger. I'm using a nice little sized knob of ginger. I know you can scrape off the skin with the spoon, but I ain't feel like doing it, so I just use my knife. And so I'm going to go ahead and smash it and then dice it up, and I think it equated to about 1 tablespoon of ginger. So you can also use pre-minced ginger or pureed ginger, but I have fresh ginger, so I'm using that. I'm putting that off to the side, and then I'm also going to go in with some fresh garlic. I'm using about 5 large cloves of garlic. You can use more or less depending how much you love garlic. I enjoy garlic. I don't like stuff when it's super duper garlicky, so I'm using 5 cloves. But you know, do what you will. I'm using fresh garlic, as you can see. You can also use minced garlic or pureed garlic as well. It doesn't matter, whatever is most convenient for you. Next, I have a bushel of green onion that I'm just going to slice, and you only want to use the green parts for this. So next I'm going to go in with top sirloin steak. I was able to get 2 pounds for $17 from my Whole Foods. So you can also use ribeye, which I highly recommend. Sirloin steak is nice, but it has a lot of membranes. So you just want to slice the steak, but once you get to like the super tough membraney parts like that, you want to cut that out because it will not cook down nicely. You want to just make sure you have that pure meat or that silver skin right there. That's the type of stuff you want to get rid of. Do not try to cook it because we're not cooking this beef for a very long time. It is going to be cooked through, but that membrane is going to be so tough, it's not going to cook down in the amount of time that we're going to be stir frying this beef for. So definitely get rid of it when you see it. So next we're going to go in with some cornstarch. I'm using about 1/4 cup, and I'm using about 1 tablespoon of baking soda, and I'm just going to coat my beef very lightly. It's going to give it a beautiful sear once we throw it into the pan. Next, it's time for sauce. So I'm going to go in with 1/2 cup of soy sauce. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Next, we have oyster sauce. I'm going in with about 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. Next, we have Chinese cooking wine. So I'm going to do about 1 tablespoon of that. I'm going to sprinkle in some of our garlic and ginger and green onions and about 1 teaspoon of salt. Give it a good mix, and I'm going to set it to the side. Oh, And don't forget to add a little bit of cornstarch. I'm doing about a tablespoon of cornstarch because we want that to thicken up as we cook it. All right, now it's time to cook. I have my big, deep pot that I love to cook in. And first we're gonna cook our broccoli. We're not gonna cook our broccoli all the way through because we still want some of that crunch in our broccoli. So I would say give it about 3 to 4 minutes covered until it turns a beautiful deep green color like this. Stir it, let it cook for maybe another minute or two, then pull it right out, okay? Once we pull the broccoli out, we're gonna add oil to our pan. I used about 2 tablespoons of canola oil, and we're gonna start sauteing our onions. Now, I like my onions to be a little crunchy too, slightly charred or a little brown, I should say, but definitely still crunchy. I love that like crunchy bite when I, get a good batch of beef and broccoli. So yes, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start searing our onions until they start getting a little brown. We're going to use the same pot, and I'm going to put in my diced bell peppers and onions, our carrots, the ginger, and garlic. We're going to saute everything together for a good 5 minutes until everything gets nice and soft. You can definitely use bigger chunks of bell peppers and onions and carrots, but again, this was stuff that I just already had in my fridge that I wanted to use. And then we're going to go ahead and add our meat right into the middle and let it sear. Let it get nice and brown. That cornstarch and baking soda is going to crisp up the meat a little bit, and that's what we want. And we're going to cook this on one side for about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes in, we're going to start stirring around our meat, and we're going to let it really cook. I'm added about another teaspoon of salt just for some flavor. And once we hit about 8 minutes into the cooking process, the beef is looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and add the broccoli as well as the sauce and some extra green onions. Okay, so I'm adding some red pepper flakes because we like spice in this house, but you don't have to add them if you don't want them. It's totally fine. So we're going to stir around our beef and broccoli a little bit. This is about 10 minutes in, and I realized one part of my pot was getting hotter than the other side. Like the back part of the pot, as you can see, isn't boiling like the front of it. So I decided to turn on my back burner because my pot was huge, and I used both burners to warm up the entire pot or pan, as you can see, and it worked perfectly like a charm. I love this pot so much. I got it from TJ Maxx. So I'm letting it cook for another 10 minutes altogether so that it can just come together and get a little saucy. I'm going to go ahead and throw my onions in there as well. They're nice and crunchy and crispy too. Some sesame seeds and sesame oil to my beef and broccoli, about a teaspoon of each, and I stirred it up. And now I'm taking my beef and broccoli out of the pot because I want to get that sauce a whole lot thicker without risking the chances of overcooking my beef and my broccoli and onions and stuff. So I'm going in with two tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of soy sauce, a teaspoon of sesame oil, and a tablespoon of cooking wine. All right, so I'm going back in. have my pots on. The heat is on high, and I'm just gonna let that simmer, get nice and thick. I'm gonna let it evaporate a little bit because we want this sauce to cling on to our beef and broccoli. We want our sauce to be sticky and stuck. You get what I'm saying? I love a good stuck on sauce. So that's what we did. So I let it boil for an additional 10 minutes. And look at how thick it got. Stirred it up, added some more green onions and sesame seeds, and there we have it. That's it. That's that beef and broccoli. And I guarantee you it tastes way better than Chinese store. My husband told me, and he never lies. So definitely try this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or concerns or want to leave any comments, leave them down below in the comment box. And yeah, that's it. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.